7 hidden touches that instantly turn a hug into pure connection. A hug is one of the most underestimated human gestures. We do it casually. We do it quickly. We do it without thinking. And yet, a hug has the power to calm anxiety, dissolve loneliness, restore trust, and make someone feel seen in a way words never can. Science tells us that hugs release oxytocin, the bonding hormone. But science doesn't explain why some hugs feel empty while others feel unforgettable. Why does one hug feel polite, while another feels like home? The answer lies in small, almost invisible details, hidden touches and moments that most people never notice, but everyone feels. This is not about technique. This is about presence. Let's explore the 7 hidden touches that can transform a simple hug into pure connection. 1. The moment of presence before the hug. Before arms wrap around a body, something far more important happens. Awareness. Most hugs are automatic. We step forward, lean in, and embrace, without truly arriving in the moment. Our mind is elsewhere, thinking, rushing, multitasking. But meaningful hugs begin with presence. A brief pause, a soft moment of eye contact, a silent acknowledgement. I see you. This pause can be less than a second, but it changes everything. It tells the other person that the hug is intentional, not mechanical. That you're not hugging out of habit, but out of choice. That tiny pause allows both people to emotionally align. It creates a shared moment before physical contact even begins. In that moment, defenses lower. The body relaxes. The heart opens slightly. Connection starts before touch. 2. Entering the hug without force. There is a quiet difference between entering a hug and grabbing someone. Forceful hugs, no matter how well intended, can feel overwhelming. They push energy onto the other person instead of meeting them where they are. A deep hug unfolds naturally. The arms wrap slowly. The body leans in gently. There is no rush to squeeze or dominate the space. This softness sends a powerful message. You are safe here. It allows the other person's nervous system to relax instead of brace. The hug becomes a shared space instead of a captured one. True comfort never demands, it invites. 3. Matching the other person's emotional state. One of the most powerful hidden touches isn't physical at all. It's emotional attunement. Every person arrives at a hug carrying something different. Stress, joy, exhaustion, relief, sadness. A meaningful hug doesn't ignore that, it listens. If the other person is tense, the hug stays light and steady. If they soften, the hug deepens naturally. If they're vulnerable, the embrace becomes protective rather than energetic. This matching creates resonance. It tells the other person, I'm with you, not ahead of you. When someone feels emotionally met, their body responds. Muscles relax. Breathing slows. The hug becomes grounding rather than performative. Connection happens when two people move at the same emotional pace. 4. Hand placement that communicates safety. Hands speak louder than arms. Where hands rest during a hug can either feel supportive or unsettling, even if the person can't explain why. The most comforting placement is usually upper back, between the shoulder blades. This area is close to the heart and often carries emotional tension. A relaxed hand here feels grounding. It doesn't grip. It doesn't wander. It simply stays. That steadiness communicates. You're supported. I'm not going anywhere. There's no urgency in this touch. No pressure to respond. No demand for anything back. It's a quiet anchor. 5. The role of breath in deep connection. Breathing is one of the most underestimated elements of a hug. Many people unknowingly hold their breath during contact. When this happens, the hug feels tight, rushed, or incomplete. But when someone exhales softly during a hug, their body relaxes, and the other person feels it instantly. Breath is contagious. A slow exhale encourages the other person to breathe deeper as well. Within seconds, both bodies begin to synchronize. This shared rhythm creates calm. The nervous system receives a signal. There is no danger. You can rest. This is why some hugs feel emotionally regulating. They don't excite the body, they settle it. Sometimes the deepest comfort comes from shared stillness and breath, not movement. 6. Stillness. The most powerful hidden touch. In many hugs, people feel the need to do something. They pat the back. They rock slightly. They shift their weight. While these movements can be comforting in certain situations, deep connection often lives in stillness. Stillness communicates presence. When a hug is still, the message is, I'm here, fully. There's no distraction, no sign of impatience, no signal that the moment is about to end. In stillness, emotions are allowed to surface naturally. Relief, calm, sometimes even tears. A still hug gives the other person permission to exist without performing. And that permission is rare. 7. Letting the hug end naturally. Who ends the hug matters more than we realize. When someone pulls away too quickly, it sends a subtle message of urgency, even if unintended. But when you allow the other person to release first, something beautiful happens. They feel respected. They feel unpressured. They feel free. It says, your timing matters. This doesn't mean hugs should be long or intense. It simply means they shouldn't be rushed. Even a short hug can feel complete when it ends naturally. Connection isn't measured in seconds, it's measured in choice. 8. The after-hug presence. The hug doesn't truly end when the arms separate. What happens immediately after is just as important. A gentle smile, soft eye contact, remaining present for a moment instead of immediately turning away. These small gestures validate the experience. They tell the other person, that moment mattered. Without this, even a good hug can feel unfinished, like a sentence without punctuation. With it, the hug becomes a memory instead of emotion. Why these small details matter so much. Humans are wired for connection, but modern life teaches us speed. We rush interactions, we minimize touch, we multitask emotions. These hidden touches slow things down. They bring intention back into something deeply human. They remind us that connection doesn't require grand gestures, just awareness. A hug done with presence can reduce anxiety, build trust, restore emotional balance, strengthen bonds, and sometimes, it can be the most healing thing a person experiences that day. The difference between touch and connection. Not all touch connects. Connection happens when touch is intentional, attuned, respectful, present. That's why some hugs feel forgettable, while others stay with us long after they're over. We remember how they made us feel, safe, seen, held, without expectation. Final reflection. A hug doesn't need strength to be powerful. It doesn't need words to be meaningful. It doesn't need time to be deep. It only needs presence. When you bring awareness into a hug, when you slow down, breathe, and truly meet the other person, you transform a simple gesture into pure connection. And in a world that often feels distant and loud, that kind of connection is not just comforting. Bonus section 1. Why the body trusts a hug before the mind does. Before the brain decides whether to feel safe, the body decides first. The nervous system responds to touch instantly. It doesn't analyze. It doesn't debate. That's why a genuine hug can calm someone even when they don't know why they're upset. A well-timed hug tells the body, you're not alone in this moment. The shoulders drop. The jaw unclenches. The breath deepens. Sometimes the body releases what the mind has been holding onto for days. This is why hugs matter. Not as gestures, but as regulators of human emotion. Bonus section 2. The difference between being held and being understood. Many people are hugged. Very few feel understood while being hugged. Being held is physical. Being understood is emotional. A hug becomes powerful when it says, I'm not trying to fix you. I don't need answers from you. You don't have to explain yourself right now. When someone feels understood without speaking, the hug becomes a language of its own. That's when silence stops feeling awkward, and starts feeling safe. Bonus section 3. Why short hugs can be deeper than long ones. Length doesn't create depth. Presence does. A 3-second hug with full awareness can feel more meaningful than a long hug filled with distraction. If someone is thinking about what comes next, checking time, or planning their response, the hug loses weight. But when someone is fully there, even briefly, the hug feels complete. Depth isn't about duration, it's about attention. Bonus section 4. The emotional memory of a hug. The brain forgets words. The body remembers feelings. Years later, people might forget what was said, but they remember. Who made them feel calm? Who made them feel safe? Who made them feel accepted? A meaningful hug creates an emotional memory. That memory becomes a reference point. This is what safety feels like. And once someone knows that feeling, they seek it again. Bonus section 5. When a hug says what words can't. There are moments when words fall short. Grief, exhaustion, overwhelm, quiet joy. In these moments, talking can feel heavy. A hug steps in where language fails. It says, "I'm here, even if nothing can be fixed." And sometimes, that's the most honest response there is. Bonus section 6. Why some people pull away from hugs. Not everyone resists hugs because they dislike closeness. Sometimes they resist because they're not used to safe touch. They've learned to self-soothe alone. Vulnerability feels unfamiliar. This is why consent, pacing, and awareness matter. A respectful hug doesn't demand closeness. It creates space for it. And often, that patience is what eventually builds trust. Bonus section 7. The healing side of human touch. Studies consistently show that safe, supportive touch can reduce stress hormones, improve mood, lower feelings of loneliness, strengthen emotional bonds. But beyond science, there's something simpler at work. Humans are not meant to go through life untouched. A hug reminds us that we belong to someone, somewhere, in this moment. Bonus section 8. The hug you needed but never asked for. Some hugs arrive exactly when needed. Not planned, not requested, not explained. Just a quiet moment where someone senses. Now, those hugs often become turning points. Small, unremarkable from the outside, but deeply meaningful on the inside. They remind us that connection doesn't always come from conversation. Sometimes it comes from awareness. Powerful one-liners you can sprinkle anywhere. A hug with presence feels louder than words. Touch becomes meaningful when it asks for nothing in return. The best hugs don't rush your emotions. Stillness is often the deepest form of comfort. A hug can be a pause button for the nervous system.